Heroin addiction does not discriminate. Anyone can find themselves trapped in a cycle of use and abuse, no matter who they are or where they come from. As more celebrities open up about their recovery, it's clear that even some of the biggest names in the world are not immune to the effects of heroin addiction. Celebrities who share their stories decrease the significant stigma associated with heroin addiction. It's not an easy path to be on, but they show that anyone can be affected and anyone can recover. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And in this video, we are going to share with you 10 celebrities that overcame heroin addiction. Some of the names on this list will probably shock you. So, before further ado, let's begin. Number 10. Russell Brand. Russell Brand's struggle with heroin addiction is anything but a secret. The English comedian extraordinaire is outspoken about the years he spent grappling with alcohol and other substances. He started using at the age of 19 and felt immediately at ease in the haze of his heroin high, and the comfort he found in the easy escape that substances provide. These feelings are all too familiar for anyone who has a history of substance abuse. It's hard to let go of the simple, fast-acting solution that becomes a consistent source of comfort over time. Number 9. Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. had a very far and very public fall from grace before he finally settled on the decision to stop using heroin and other drugs. Downey was first introduced to drugs at the age of 6 when his father allowed him to try marijuana. This initiated the progression of over 30 years of use, failed attempts at recovery, tries at treatment, and time behind bars. He was cast in numerous roles and made a name for himself despite his after-hours drinking and drug use. One of the most pivotal characters he played was a 1987 film adaptation of Less Than Zero, a novel by Bret Easton Ellis. Downey took on the role of a kid trapped in the throes of extreme heroin addiction. Years later, during an interview with The Guardian, Downey noted that his role in Less Than Zero felt like an exaggerated version of himself. As time passed, though, he pointed out that he became an exaggerated version of that character. Number 8. Steven Tyler. Steven Tyler of Aerosmith was notorious for his incredible heroin addiction among struggles with other substances. He and Joe Perry, the band's guitar player, were referred to as the Toxic Twins due to their habits for heroin and other assorted pleasantries, especially during the 1970s and 1980s. Despite the raging drug use of all its members, Aerosmith commanded Billboard charts and TV screens throughout the 1980s. Tyler and his bandmates operated under the idea that their substance use fueled higher quality work and more intense performances. Though it felt like the perfect solution for years, Tyler hit rock bottom in 1988 and found himself at the center of an intervention. He went to rehab with the encouragement of loved ones and achieved his first stint of sobriety. Number 7. Eric Clapton. Eric Clapton, the iconic singer-songwriter, is no stranger to the depths of heroin addiction either. He shared openly about his troubles with drugs and alcohol, along with a severe addiction to heroin in the 1970s. At the peak of his addiction, Clapton estimated he spent roughly $16,000 a week to fuel his habit. He described his delusional belief that his ability to afford his addiction meant things were under control. The darkest days of his heroin addiction lasted about 3 years before he was able to get clean. Number 6. Carrie Fisher. Carrie Fisher's story is a tragic result of the impact of drug addiction and the way it follows people throughout their lives. It doesn't matter how much time a person has or what their ultimate drug of choice was, the temptation of addiction is never far away. Percodan, a prescription opioid medication, was Fisher's go-to drug of choice starting in the 1970s, a habit she fed by tricking doctors and rifling through whatever drawers and medicine cabinets she could find. Her struggles with mental health and addiction never left her. She was brutally honest about the difficulties she had, difficulties that followed her until the day she passed away on December 27, 2017. The toxicology report revealed the presence of heroin, alcohol, cocaine, and ecstasy in her system. Number 5. Corey Feldman. Corey Feldman found himself in the public eye from the time he could walk. His acting career started from the young age of 3 when he first appeared in a McDonald's commercial. Throughout the first few years of his life, he landed roles in more than 50 television shows and 100 commercials. By the time he was a teen, Feldman had multiple roles in high-grossing movies throughout the 80s. He starred in The Burbs with Carrie Fisher, who noticed he was at the edge of a downward spiral. She reached out and tried to offer help, letting her young co-star know that the way he was headed was far from pleasant. Unfortunately, Feldman needed to learn the lesson on his own. A year later, his battle with heroin addiction began. He was arrested multiple times for heroin possession in the 1990s, before finally attending a long-term addiction treatment program. Number 4. Tatum ONeill. Tatum ONeill is another child star renowned for her performances as a young actress. She is the youngest person to win an Oscar, one of the most coveted awards in Hollywood. ONeill received recognition at the ripe age of 10 for a performance alongside her father in Paper Moon. Like other child stars, though, ONeill experienced her own public celebrity drug-fueled downfall. Her childhood was full of many gut-wrenching experiences, from abuse and neglect to eventual abandonment in her mid-teens. By the time she married John McEnroe in 1986, a celebrated tennis star, she was already sunk in the world of substance abuse. ONeill eventually became hooked on heroin and lost custody of her children to McEnroe in 1986. She got clean soon after and regained custody, committed to overcoming her demons and getting back on track. Number 3. Keith Richards. Keith Richards, guitarist in the Rolling Stones, had his own wild experience in the world of drugs and rock and roll. His contributions to the world of music are legendary, but he didn't make that mark without making waves. He found his name plastered in headlines for being on the wrong side of the law from the late 1960s. There are countless stories to pull from when looking at his heroin-laced past. He was arrested once in London when the police found numerous illicit substances including heroin, marijuana, and Mandrax tablets. Following his trial for heroin possession in October 1978, he was placed on probation and attended treatment for his heroin addiction. Thankfully, Richards managed to leave the harsh world of heroin behind following that widespread public debacle. Though he admits to occasional cannabis use and alcohol consumption, Richards has stayed clean from heroin throughout his later years. Number 2. Nicole Richie. Nicole Richie was one of the celebrities at the forefront of the famous for being famous phenomenon. She moved in with Lionel Richie when her biological parents admitted they couldn't afford to provide for their young child. Richie was raised in the spotlight alongside her adopted father, especially after his bitter split from his then-wife Brenda Harvey. She turned to heroin as a way to numb out the pain of the public eye on her parents' split. Prior to her forays into individual stardom even began, though, Richie was busted for her hard drug use. Her name was smeared across tabloid headlines before her reality show with Paris Hilton, The Simple Life, was even released. Thankfully, Richie left heroin behind after a severe but short stint. She's remained clean from heroin following her possession charges in 2003. Number 1. McLemore. McLemore is well known for the socially aware music he writes and performs. He's also known for his vocal support of those in recovery. His support stems from his own struggles with substance abuse throughout his teenage years and into his 20s. McLemore's journey into substance abuse started at the age of 13 or 14 when he raided his parents' liquor cabinet. He describes his first time drinking during an interview with MTV. 12 shots. My first time ever drinking alcohol. That's not people like, yo, keep going. That's me, by myself, in the kitchen, like, I can't stop. Though McLemore didn't progress to heroin, he battled a severe addiction to painkillers and other prescription opioids. He attended rehab in August 2008, after which he remained sober for 3 years. Unfortunately, he had a short but significant relapse in 2011, but recommitted to his sobriety soon after. Which name on this list surprised you the most? Tell us in the comments below.